Mabuhay! We care about your safety.
Mabuhay! My name is Kyla Cuanan, and today I will be presenting my cell city analogy. Based on the short video introduction presented earlier, it may have given you an idea of what I would be using for this analogy. For this analogy, I would be using an airport. The airport that I would be presenting is called the CELS International Airport, or CIA. Before proceeding to the main agenda of this presentation, allow me to share with you a brief introduction about an airport and why I chose this facility for my analogy. I have been traveling inside and outside of the country ever since I was a kid. Recalling what I have seen on airports, I have noticed some functions and areas that have certain similarities to the organelles inside the cell. We all know that the function of an airport is to provide passengers with transportation services that would enable them to travel locally and internationally with the use of an aircraft. However, there are many processes inside the airport to be done before transporting or taking the passengers to their designated destinations. There are many processes inside the cells before actually transporting enzymes or nutrients and carrying out specialized functions that a human body needs. With that being said, let us find out what is inside an airport and how it can be related to the organelles inside the cell. So what is flashed on the screen right now is the CELS International Airport. So this is what is inside the CELS International Airport. As you can see, there are so many components of it, and each component of this airport has its functions. And later on, we will discuss each function of each component. So here is the labeled map or the bird's eye overview of the airport. As you can see, we have the cell wall, the cell membrane, the protein, the Golgi bodies, the vacuole, the nucleoplasm, the nuclear pores, the nucleolus, the nuclear envelope, and of course the nucleus, the cytoplasm, the mitochondria, the chloroplast, the ribosomes, the endoplasmic reticulum, and the lysosomes. So let us find out the function of each components of this airport. So first off, we have the security guard and the security screeners. So the security guard and the security screeners, from the word itself, screens and inspects the people and their luggages upon their entry inside the airport facilities. In terms of luggages, security screeners inspect carry-on items using an X-ray viewing equipment to determine whether items contain objects that may be harmful. Security guards search carry-on or screened baggage by hand when it is suspected to contain prohibited items such as weapons. They also check passengers' tickets to ensure that they are valid and also to determine whether passengers have designations that require such objects. So the security guard and the security screeners could be related to the cell membrane. So the cell membrane acts as the barrier and the gatekeeper of the cells that screens the substances that go in and out of the cell. They are semi-permeable, which means that some molecules can diffuse across the lipid bilayer just like the oxygen, but others cannot. This limits the entry of toxins or unwanted substances inside the cell. Moving on to the next component of the airport, next we have is the airport barriers or the airport walls. So the airport barriers or the walls act as the outermost protection of the airport. It avoids the entry of a mass amount of people that do not have a business to attend to in the airport. The airport barriers or the walls provide separation between the areas outside the airport from the airport facilities, which makes the facility organized and away from unlikely chaos. Through these barriers, the entry of an unwanted guest would be limited. So in cells, the airport barriers or the walls are the cell walls. So the cell wall acts as a second or the support barrier of the cell membrane, as it resides outside of it. It serves as the extra protection of the cell and it gives the cell its structure. The cell wall is also in charge of the intercellular transfer. Moving on, we have the airport structure. So the airport structure is what makes up the airport itself. Without its proper structure, the airport would be in shambles and it would be useless. Without the structure of the airport, everything could be mixed up. Without the structure of the airport or without the proper structure of the airport, everything could be mixed up. An aircraft may land on the immigration facilities if the structure is messed up. The airport structure holds the facilities and other areas in place in order for the airport to function well. So in cells, there is also this organelle that acts as the airport structure, which is the cytoplasm. So cytoplasm is a gel-like substance inside the cell. The cytoplasm holds the components of the cell together and protects them from damage. Compared to the prokaryotes, eukaryotes have a more defined structure, all thanks to the cytoplasm. So next is we have the airport manager. So the airport manager is in charge of all other employees and departments, as well as the daily operations and future airport development. The airport managers, from the word itself, manage and have the authority to rule the whole airport facility as it is entrusted to them. They are the boss of the airport. So the cells also have the boss who controls all the activities inside of it, and it is called the nucleus. So the nucleus acts as the boss of the cell, as stated earlier. The nucleus can only be found in eukaryotic cells. It controls and regulates all the activities done by the cells, which are the cellular activities such as growth, metabolism, protein synthesis, and reproduction. So next we have is the flight data personnel. So the flight data personnel, or FDP, are also known as the tower controllers. They direct the movement of vehicles, including aircraft, runways, and taxiways. They check flight plans, give pilots clearance for takeoff or landing, and direct the movement of aircraft and other traffic on the runways and in other parts of the airport. The FDP gains information and transcribes it in order to direct the pilots to their designated areas for taking off or landing. So in cells, we have the nucleolus, which is similar to the duty of the flight data personnel. So the nucleolus is a unique structure seen in eukaryotic cells and nucleus. It is primarily involved in the assembly of ribosomes, the modification of transfer RNA, and the detection of cellular stress. It is one of the nucleus' most important components. Moving on, we have the control tower. So the control tower consists of the airport manager and the flight data personnel who primarily have the authority and direct the actions of the airport. So to keep it simple and brief, the control tower is where the offices of the airport manager and the FDPs are. So the control tower is what protects the FDP and the airport manager. So the cells also have this kind of protection which protects the nucleus and its subparts. So it is called the nuclear envelope. So the nuclear envelope separates the nucleus contents from the cytoplasm and serves as the nucleus structural framework. The nuclear membranes, which operate as barriers to free movement of molecules between the nucleus and the cytoplasm, keep the nucleus apart from the rest of the cell. Moving on, we have the security guard and the security screeners. So the security guard and the security screeners screens the passage of the employees in the office. So they assess whether the person is working inside the office or not. This can be related to the nuclear pores. So the nuclear pores are permeable barriers that limit the entry of proteins and RNA but allow the free passage of water, ATP, ions, and other small molecules. Moving on, we have the control tower office. So the control tower office is where the manager, the airport manager, and the FDP or the flight data personnel reside. So this is the place where they do their work and perform their duty. In cells, this can be related to the nucleoplasm. So the nucleoplasm acts as a cytoplasm. It is a gel-like substance that keeps everything in place. Next, we have the airplane. So the airplane are vehicles used in airports in order to transport or take the passengers and some cargo to their designated destinations. Airplanes come in a variety of shapes, sizes, depending on the aircraft's job. So basically, the airplane is the transporting device used for transporting passengers. In the cells, a transporting device or the transporting system is also present. It is called the endoplasmic reticulum. So the endoplasmic reticulum is often referred to as the delivery boy of the cells. Proteins and lipids are produced, processed, and transported in large quantities by it. Next up, we have the passengers. So the passengers are what the airplanes hold. They are the ones who are transported from one place to another. The passengers have gone through multiple processes in the airport facilities before proceeding to be transported to different locations. So in cells, this can be related to the protein. So the proteins, similar to the passengers, are the ones being transported through the endoplasmic reticulum. It aids in the repair and development of the body's tissues as well as allowing metabolic responses and coordinating biological operations. Moving on, we have the immigration. Immigration department is the one that organizes the entry of passengers before actually heading to the gate terminals waiting for transport. So the immigration could be related to the Golgi bodies. So the Golgi apparatus is in charge of transporting, altering, and packaging proteins and lipids in the vesicles so they can be delivered to specific locations. Next up, we have the captain or the pilot. So the pilot is the one who is in charge of the movement of the aircraft, and they carry out information that would then be converted to reports transferred to the flight data personnel. They carry out the flight data. So similar to the pilots, we have the ribosomes. So the ribosomes carry out translation, which is the process of decoding information in messenger RNA and generating continuous chains of amino acids to build proteins. Moving on, we have the monitor or the computers. So the monitors or the computers are composed of the flight data primarily reported by the pilots. With the use of these devices, it would be made possible for the flight data personnel to translate and gain information of what is happening or what is the status of the flight. So the monitors and the computers can be related to the chromosomes. So the chromosomes are the greatest level of DNA and protein organization. So the two can be related because as chromosomes provide the organization of the proteins, the monitors or the computers can be used by the flight data personnel in order to organize the flight data status. Next, we have the hydropower plant. So the hydropower plant is one of the greatest sources for energy, which is converted to electricity in airports. Most airports rely to this kind of source of electricity. The hydropower plant is the source of the energy of the airports, which can be related to the mitochondria. The mitochondria is famously known as the powerhouse of the cell. Similar to its famous nickname, the function of the mitochondria is to produce adenosine triphosphate energy or the ATP energy, which plays a vital role to cells as it maintains energy molecule used by the cells. Moving on, we have the turbine. So the turbine is attached to the hydropower plant. So the turbine's job is to convert mechanical energy from water, steam, or wind into mechanical energy that drives the generator. So in the cells, we have the chloroplast, which undergoes the process of conversion in order to produce energy. So photosynthesis takes place in the chloroplast. So the photosynthesis is a process by which light energy is transformed to chemical energy, resulting in the generation of oxygen and energy-rich organic compounds. Moving on, we have the luggage storage. So the luggage storage is where the checked-in passenger's luggage is placed. The luggages in this storage is screened whether there are objects that could be broken or harmful for the flight. The weight of the baggage is also screened and monitored before actually being stored in the luggage storage. The excess and the harmful baggage are taken away in this department. In this department, some objects that may be harmful are separated and are disposed. So this is similar to the vacuole of the cells. So the vacuole is present in both animal and plant cells. It is a membrane-enclosed sac that cleans out poisonous and harmful substances. Next, we have the warehouse. So the warehouse is where the objects or the substances that are identified to be harmful are placed. In this area, the objects are broken down and are disposed of. So in cells, we also have the warehouses or the storage tanks that breaks down harmful substances. It is called the lysosomes. So the lysosomes are present in both plant and animal cells. Bacteria and other germs that could hurt or affect cells are destroyed by the lysosomes. Lipids, carbohydrates, and proteins are broken down by lysosomes into small molecules that can be utilized by the remainder of the cell. And that's a wrap! That concludes my cell city analogy. I hope that you gained information and you enjoyed watching this presentation. Thank you for watching and have a good day.